Hey ocean explorers, welcome back to Deep Dive Diaries. Today, we're plunging into the abyss to uncover the secrets of one of the most mysterious creatures on Earth, the giant squid. This isn't just a fish tale, it's a real-life sea monster that's been haunting sailors' nightmares and sparking scientists' curiosity for centuries. So, grab your scuba gear, or at least a comfy seat, because we're diving deep, 12,000 words deep to be exact, into the world of the giant squid. From ancient legends to cutting-edge science, we're gonna unravel it all. Ready? Let's go. Picture this. It's the 1700s. You're a sailor on a creaky wooden ship, miles from land. The ocean is black as ink, and the only light comes from the flickering lanterns swinging above deck. Suddenly, the lookout screams, "Monster!" You rush to the rail, heart pounding, and there, rising from the waves, is a creature straight out of a nightmare. Tentacles thicker than tree trunks, eyes the size of dinner plates, and a body that seems to stretch forever into the deep. This, my friends, was the first glimpse humanity got of the giant squid, or what we thought was a giant squid. Back then, they called it the Kraken, a legendary beast said to drag entire ships to the ocean floor. Norse sailors swapped stories of these colossal creatures, and even the Greeks wrote about sea monsters that could only be squids in disguise. Were these just tall tales spun by lonely sailors? Maybe, but here's the kicker. Those stories weren't entirely wrong. The giant squid, or Architeuthis dux if you want to get fancy, is very real. It's not just a monster, it's a marvel of nature, a creature so elusive it's been called the unicorn of the sea. For centuries, we only knew it from washed-up carcasses, tangled fishing nets, or the wild imaginations of storytellers. But every legend has a spark of truth, and the giant squid's truth is wilder than any myth. So why are we so obsessed with this deep-sea giant? Well, it's not just the size, though trust me, these things are huge. It's the mystery. The giant squid lives in a world we're only beginning to explore, a place so alien it might as well be another planet. And every time we learn something new about it, we realize how much more there is to discover. In this video, we're going to peel back the layers of this oceanic enigma. We'll dive into the history, the science, the jaw-dropping anatomy, and the role this creature plays in the ocean's delicate dance. Plus, we'll look at what the future holds for giant squid research. Spoiler alert, it's going to blow your mind. So, let's start at the beginning. Way back, when the giant squid was just a whisper in the wind. Let's set the scene. It's 1857, and a Danish zoologist named Peter Steenstrup is poring over some bizarre reports. Sailors are talking about massive sea serpents with arms like ropes and bodies that glow in the dark. Most scientists at the time, they laughed it off. Sailors and their stories, they'd say. But Steenstrup? He wasn't so quick to dismiss. He studied washed-up remains, chunks of flesh, a beak here, a tentacle there. And he pieced together a puzzle that changed everything. He named the creature Architeuthis, the giant squid, and suddenly, the Kraken wasn't just a myth anymore. But even before Steenstrup, the giant squid was leaving its mark. In the 1500s, a French naturalist named Pierre Belon described a monstrous cephalopod that washed ashore in Denmark. Locals thought it was a bad omen, a sign of doom, and who could blame them? Imagine stumbling across a 30-foot-long squid on your morning walk. By the 1800s, more reports were trickling in. Whalers in the Pacific found giant squid remains in the stomachs of sperm whales, and fishermen off Newfoundland were hauling up tentacles that looked like they belonged to a sea god. Here's one of my favorite stories. In 1874, a group of fishermen off the coast of Newfoundland were out in their little boat when, bam, a giant squid grabbed their net. They didn't run. Oh no, these guys were hardcore. They fought back, hacking at the squid's tentacles with axes until it let go. When they dragged the pieces to shore, scientists measured them, 19 feet of tentacle. And that was just part of the creature. Can you imagine the adrenaline? These early encounters weren't just thrilling, they were game changers. They proved the giant squid was real, but they also raised a million questions. How big could these things get? Where did they live? And why were we only seeing them when they were dead or dying? Scientists were hooked, and the race was on to learn more. But the ocean is a big place, and the giant squid, it's a master of hide and seek. Fast forward to the 21st century, and we're finally starting to crack the giant squid's code. Thanks to some seriously cool tech, we're not just finding dead squids anymore. We're seeing them alive, in their element, thousands of feet below the surface. And let me tell you, it's like watching a sci-fi movie come to life. One of the biggest breakthroughs came in 2012, when a team, led by Dr. Tsunemi Kubodera and the Discovery Channel, captured the first ever video of a giant squid in its natural habitat. They used a submersible off the coast of Japan, baited with a glowing lure to mimic a jellyfish. After hours of waiting, boom, there it was, a 10-foot-long squid, its tentacles swirling like a dancer, its body shimmering with bioluminescence. The footage went viral, and for good reason. It was the first time we saw the giant squid not as a corpse, but as a living, breathing creature. I've watched that clip 100 times, and it still gives me chills. The way it moves, so graceful, yet so powerful, it's like it's not even from this planet. And that was just the beginning. Since then, we've had more sightings, thanks to deep-sea drones, remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, and some seriously brave scientists. So, how do we find these elusive giants? It's not easy. The ocean's twilight zone, where giant squids hang out, is pitch black, freezing, and under crushing pressure. Scientists use everything from sonar to bioluminescent lures to high-def cameras that can handle the dark. They also track sperm whales, the giant squid's biggest predator, because where there's a whale, there might be a squid. It's like detective work, but instead of a magnifying glass, you've got $1 million submersible. This little guy, it's one of the heroes of giant squid research. These ROVs can dive deeper than any human, sending back crystal-clear images that make you feel like you're right there in the abyss. And every time we get a new video, we learn something new, like how giant squids hunt, how they move, and even how they disappear into the dark like ghosts. Okay, let's talk about what makes the giant squid such a badass. First off, the size. These guys can grow up to 43 feet long for females. That's longer than a school bus. Males are a bit smaller, topping out at around 33 feet. But it's not just their length, it's their presence. Imagine a creature with a body like a torpedo, 2 massive feeding tentacles, and 8 arms lined with hundreds of suckers, each one rimmed with tiny hooks like a horror movie villain. Those suckers? They are not just for show, they grip prey with insane strength, pulling it toward the squid's beak, a hard, razor-sharp structure that can slice through fish and even other squids like butter. And here's a fun fact. The giant squid's beak is the only part of its body that's hard. Everything else is soft, squishy, and flexible, which lets it squeeze through tight spaces or slip away from predators. This is a life-sized model of a giant squid's beak. It's small compared to the rest of the body, but don't let that fool you. It's deadly efficient. The squid uses it to chomp its prey into bite-sized pieces, which it then swallows with the help of a tongue-like structure called a radula. It's like a conveyor belt of tiny teeth, nature's version of a food processor. Now, let's talk about those eyes. Giant squids have the largest eyes in the animal kingdom, up to 10 inches across. Think basketball-sized. Why so big? Because down in the deep, light is scarce. Those massive eyes soak up every photon, letting the squid spot prey or predators in near total darkness. And get this, their eyes are eerily similar to ours, with a lens, retina, and iris. It's a crazy example of convergent evolution where two totally different species end up with the same solution to a problem. And then there's the glow. Giant squids are bioluminescent, meaning they can light up like a living lantern. They use special organs called photophores to create flashes of light, probably to confuse predators or attract prey. Imagine you're a fish swimming along, and suddenly this massive glowing monster appears out of nowhere. You'd be out of there. Oh, and we can't forget the ink sac. When a giant squid feels threatened, it can blast out a cloud of dark ink to obscure a predator's view, then jet away using its siphon, a muscle that shoots water like a rocket engine. It's the ultimate getaway move, and it saved countless squids from becoming whale chow. I mean, come on, how cool is that? The giant squid is like a Swiss Army knife of the ocean. Every part of its body is perfectly tuned for survival in one of the harshest environments on Earth. But it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. And that brings us to the next big question. Where does the giant squid fit in the ocean's grand tapestry? The ocean is like a giant puzzle, and every species is a piece that keeps the whole thing together. The giant squid, it's a key player in this underwater drama. It's both a predator and prey, a link in the food web that connects the deep sea to the surface. As predators, giant squids are absolute bosses. They hunt fish, smaller squids, and even crustaceans using those lightning-fast tentacles to snatch prey before it knows what hit it. Scientists think they're ambush predators, lurking in the dark and striking with precision. But they're not invincible. Sperm whales, those titans of the deep, love a good squid snack. In fact, sperm whale stomachs are like giant squid museums, full of beaks that pile up because they're indigestible. But it's not just about eating and being eaten. The giant squid has a ripple effect on the ecosystem. When it hunts, it controls populations of smaller species, keeping the food web in balance. When it's prey, it provides energy for apex predators like whales and sharks. And when a giant squid dies and sinks to the sea floor, its body becomes a feast for deep-sea scavengers like crabs and hagfish. It's like a gift that keeps on giving. Even here in this little pool, every creature plays a role. The giant squid's role is just on a much bigger scale. It's a connector, a bridge between the surface and the abyss. And because it lives in such a remote part of the ocean, it's also a barometer of the ecosystem's health. If giant squid populations start to struggle, it's a sign something's off. Maybe pollution, overfishing, or climate change. That's why studying giant squids isn't just about satisfying our curiosity. It's about understanding the bigger picture, how all these pieces fit together, and what happens when one goes missing. And trust me, we're only scratching the surface of what these creatures can teach us. So where do we go from here? The giant squid has given up some of its secrets, but it's still holding plenty of cards close to its chest. Scientists are working overtime to figure out the rest, how these creatures live, how they reproduce, and how they're coping with a changing ocean. One big mystery is their life cycle. We know giant squids grow fast and die young, probably living only a few years. But how do they mate? Where do they lay their eggs? We've never found a giant squid nursery, but researchers are using DNA analysis and tracking technologies to hunt for clues. They're also studying squid migration patterns, trying to map where these giants roam. Then there's the tech. Autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs, are the new rock stars of ocean exploration. These robotic explorers can dive deeper and stay longer than any human, collecting data on temperature, pressure, and even squid sightings. Scientists are also experimenting with eDNA, environmental DNA, where they scoop up water samples and look for traces of giant squid genetic material. It's like CSI Ocean Edition. This could tell us if a giant squid was here without ever seeing it. How wild is that? But there's a shadow over all this research. Climate change. Rising ocean temperatures and acidification are messing with marine ecosystems, and the giant squid isn't immune. Warmer waters could push squids deeper or force them into new territories, disrupting their food supply and their predators. Overfishing is another threat, as it reduces the prey species squids rely on. Scientists are racing to understand these impacts before it's too late. The giant squid isn't just a cool creature, it's a symbol of how much we still have to learn about our planet. Every new discovery reminds us that the ocean is full of wonders and full of warnings. If we want to keep these giants around, we need to protect their home. That means cutting pollution, fighting climate change, and supporting sustainable fishing. It's a big job, but it starts with us. Wow, what a journey. From ancient legends to high-tech discoveries, the giant squid has taken us on a wild ride through the heart of the ocean. It's a creature that reminds us how vast, how mysterious, and how fragile our world is. So here's my challenge to you. Keep exploring. Whether it's watching a documentary, supporting ocean conservation, or just staring out at the waves and wondering what's down there, stay curious. The giant squid is out there, waiting for its next close-up. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be part of the story that unveils its final secrets. Thanks for diving with me today. If you loved this deep-sea adventure, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more Deep Dive Diaries. Drop a comment below. Have you ever seen a squid in real life? Or what's your favorite ocean mystery? Let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep exploring, and I'll see you in the deep.